Everyone, Har Har Mahadev. Welcome to Swag Coder. So I am very happy to start my new YouTube channel with you all, and here I am gonna bring a lot of cool stuff, cool content that no one is bringing right now. You know that there is a world which is much more vast than just learning DSA or just learning MERN stack. Okay, there is generative AI, there are blockchains, there are what not, right? There are a hell lot of things that actually needs to cover, and there is very less content over YouTube on these kind of topics. But you know that in most of the companies this kind of trending techs are actually being worked upon. These are the most in demand technologies in today's world, right? And if you learn them, if you can make you well versed with this kind of technologies, I guarantee you that no one is going to beat you, and you are going to rock your next job interview, right? So the motive of starting this Swag Coder YouTube channel is exactly the same, that I want to bridge the gaps that are currently in the tech space, right? We are actually starting with our generative AI, which is Swag's generative AI. So in this course I will be talking about everything that you need to know about generative AI, right? How you can incorporate the generative AI in your boring applications, right? How you can make your regular and boring applications smart. How can you make your project stand out from others, right? And how it can give your resume a 10x boost. Okay, so the thing is that in this channel we are going to discuss about niche technologies, about all those technologies which are currently in trend, which are in the market, which are ruling the market currently. So what actually is generative AI, right? Is it going to take your job, or it is just going to be your helpful friend, right? Is it a devil or is it a god for us? See, the thing is that in the IT market recently, right, everyone is talking about generative AI, and I have seen that beat YouTube, beat LinkedIn, beat anywhere, everyone is talking about in terms of fear, to generate fear, right? Generative AI actually does not generate fear. We have to understand that it actually is very helpful. It is streamlining a lot of tasks that earlier actually needed a lot of time, lot of effort, lot of thinking. Generative AI is doing those things for us, right? But can it replace you? Can it take the job of a software developer? The answer is no, a big no, guys, because generative AI is actually developed to help you, not to take your job. It is actually designed to be your assistant, right? Getting my point? So the thing is that I have started this series, Swax Generative AI, to burst all the myths, to burst your fears, so that you can, straight away get started while using generative AI. How you can use this as a tool, and how can you use it in your project so that you stand away from the crowd, you get AI ready. So this is what I want to make, right? So before diving into our computer screen, I just wanted to ask a few things from you. The first thing is, see, I am starting this channel from a ground level, right? So I need your support from the initial days, correct? So if you like the content of this video, if you want this kind of topics to be discussed even more on this channel, if you want me to bring more such content for you, so please consider liking this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and share this video over all the social media, and tell AI is your friend, not your enemy, right? So enough of the talk is cheap. Let's straight away jump into the code. So guys, let me take you to Google Chrome first of all, and let me show you something. Okay, so first of all, for who this course is for, is there any prerequisite? Do you need to know AI, ML, anything before getting started with this playlist, with this course? Okay, so let's talk about all of them. So the first thing is that the prerequisite is that you need to have one, a laptop, second, a good internet connection, and third thing is the most important thing. This is the most important prerequisite, and that is you should have a hunger to learn new things. You should have excitement. You should be equally excited as me. I am getting so much excited so that my energy can be transformed inside you, and you can actually be a great person, a great AI engineer. So start with enthusiasm, okay? And this is the main prerequisite apart from the other two, right? So this all three things is what you need, okay? You need not to have any knowledge of any technology related to AI, related to ML. Trust me when I say that, okay? If you are a developer, if you are developing something, be it Flutter, be it React, be it React Native or something else, I am going to show you how you can make your development more powerful, how you can incorporate AI into your apps, right? This is the main motive of this Swax AI playlist, okay? If you are not getting, okay, about the full flavor I am trying to bring in, don't worry at all. We will get to know as we proceed. Let's first discuss what we are going to build today. So the thing is that before starting into the code, do I need to discuss or am I going to discuss anything about AI or ML? No, my dear friends, no. I am not going to discuss anything about AI and ML, and I am doing it intentionally just to demonstrate you. Even if you don't know anything, if you don't know anything about A of AI, M of ML, then also you can get started with generative AI. It is that easy to get started with. There is no fear in using that. Trust me, people are just building fears, but it is really easy. So just one or two pointers before diving into the code is that, like, before diving into generative AI and all, we need to understand that AI and ML is actually what a particular system is providing us. It is a server, it is a system, or you can also think it as a black box that is providing us some responses. You can treat it as your normal APIs. What is actually an API? It is kind of a server. You have gone to an restaurant, right, and you are ordering a food. So what is the job of a server or a waiter? It goes to the kitchen and serves you some food. So we will be making use of generative AI APIs, right? They are at the end of the day some normal APIs, so they will bring you responses what you are looking for, correct? So the thing is that we will be thinking generative AI as a normal black box, okay? Black box, okay? So what actually is a black box? You don't need to know about the functionality. You don't need to know how generative AI is working. You need to know how to use generative AI. So let's make this thing a bit more fun, right? Let me bring Jarvis over here. Okay. Let me bring Jarvis over here. Okay. This thing looks cool, right? So all the Tony Stark fans, put down into the comments that if you guys are enjoying this course or not, correct? Okay, so this black box is there, and we are going to what we are going to do, we are going to put Jarvis over here, correct? So okay guys, so we have our Tony Bhaiya or our Jarvis over here. Okay, so if you know Iron Man or our Tony Stark, right? He has one assistant known as Jarvis. So what Jarvis used to do is whatever Tony Stark used to say to Jarvis, Jarvis used to, return all the things, or give responses to Tony from time to time. What else needs to be done? What are the process? He just need to speak, and Jarvis used to do all those things for Tony Stark. And let me tell you, let me reveal you, Jarvis is now not a myth. It is real entity by using generative AI. How cool is that? You can make your own Jarvis. You have Jarvis with you, right? So that's why I am saying, don't look generative AI as someone who is trying to steal your job, right? Think it as a Jarvis, right? As your own personal Jarvis. Okay, think yourself as Iron Man. Okay, and you have got the power of Jarvis. Now, whatever you will tell Jarvis, you will tell Jarvis as, okay, just a moment. You will tell Jarvis. Okay, first of all, what is this? This is you, or the end user. So this is the user, and the user, or you, or let me call it Iron Man. Okay, think yourself as Iron Man, right, guys? Yeah, so think yourself as Iron Man. Okay, so what Iron Man is doing is, Iron Man is having Jarvis, right, which is his own virtual assistant. Okay, and this Jarvis is something that we are calling as OpenAI, correct? This Jarvis is what we are calling it as OpenAI. And what is this black box? Black box is actually the model, okay, that is behind OpenAI. Do we need to know how this model works? No, we don't need to know. We just need to know about Jarvis, how to ask Jarvis, right? How to tell Jarvis about what to do. And this we do via something called as prompt. Okay, so what is prompt actually? Prompt is actually nothing but how you speak, how you express what you want to do, guys. So people term this as prompt engineering. It's just like how you should speak properly. Okay, let me put it like this. It's nothing more than that. Okay, so prompt. So Iron Man, or you, the user, or in this case your app, will give OpenAI some prompt or some instructions to on what to do and what not to do. And what OpenAI or Jarvis will give us? Jarvis will give us something called as response. Okay, so this is happening via something you already are familiar with. Yes, correct. This is exactly like how you build REST APIs or your normal APIs, right? How you used to interact with your normal APIs. Okay, so I should call it as API only. Okay, because it's actually sending us some kind of response, right? And this response is actually in JSON format, correct? We need to extract what we need from this response, right? We will show it when we will be coding it along, correct? So this is how things will work. Okay, now without further delay, let's get started with our very first smart application, smart GenAI powered application. Are you excited? Are you excited to code along with me? Let us dive deep into the code without talking much. Okay, so guys, now the thing is that what do you need? The first thing you need is your Visual Studio Code. You can straight away go to code.visualstudio, right? Code.vs Code, code.visualstudio.in. You can download it for your Mac, you can download it for Windows, or you can download it for any operating system that you are currently working on. Okay, it's quite obvious, and it's there is no rocket science involved in it, so I'm not going into the installations and all. Okay, you can find a lot of tutorials on that, guys. Come on, we are doing smart things, we are doing advanced stuffs. Okay, but this advanced stuffs are very easy. I am going to make this a cakewalk for you, that's a guarantee. Okay, so go and install VS Code, because we need to write code upon something. We can't use Notepad++, right? We are in the 2024, correct? Next, the thing I want to discuss is that what our UI would be. So there will be an UI. I am not talking about server as of now. We will be fetching the OpenAI API responses from our UI itself, right? So there will be an UI for us. Okay, so Iron Man is the user. He has a user interface. Okay, in this case our UI will be using React, right? So React.js, if you don't know, is a popular JavaScript library that gives us immense power, which we can actually build user interfaces real quick, right? So this is just a UI tool. Look into it as this only. Okay, I'm not going to talk much about React. We will be discussing in depth about React and some and React, Flutter and all, whichever technology I know. I will try to bring those things to you in some other playlist. Might be swag say React. Okay, if you want that, drop in the comments if you want React playlist or something like that. But for now, we are assuming that you know at least basics of React. Even if you don't know, don't worry, I am going to explain you everything. Okay, don't get fear on anything. Okay, this stuffs are real easy. If you find any problem with that, I am going to make it easier for you. Okay, now let us create a new folder and let me call it as, what should I call it? Why not Iron Man, or let me call it Jarvis. Okay, let me call it Jarvis itself. What is the harm in calling it a Jarvis? Okay, and I now need to put this Jarvis into my VS Code. Cool. Okay, so Jarvis is actually opened in VS Code, and now you will click on Control and backticks to open your terminal, right? So how we are going to install a React app, or how to get started with React? We will be using Vite and Tailwind for rapid development of UI. Okay, so I will go to the Vite. So what actually is Vite? Vite is a kind of templating engine, okay, with which actually provides you with quick template that you can get started with React, right? So as React is a JavaScript library, it doesn't come up with much configuration and all. You can directly pull React from its CDN links also and put that in your project. But to make the development faster, I am going to use this tool called Vite. Vite actually really helps you in production as well as while development. It has a lot better hot module reload system, or the HMR system. It builds your build file using npm run build. It builds your build files real quick so that you can easily deploy them. You can deploy them real quick. Okay, so we will be using Vite, and what is the other thing that I told you is Tailwind, right? Tailwindcss.com. This website is what we will be going to, and we will straight away jump into get started. But what actually is Tailwind? Tailwind is a CSS library. Okay, if you know CSS, right? CSS is what? You have three things in your web, right? HTML, CSS and JavaScript. CSS styles your web, and Tailwind CSS makes styling your web more efficient with pre-built class names, pre-built styles. Okay, so that our development gets faster. Okay, so the first thing is how to get started with this. I will go with this framework guide. Okay, I will go with this framework guide, and we will be using Vite. So I will be creating Vite and using React itself, right? So what is the first thing it is trying to say us? Npm create Vite latest my project with template React. Okay, so what I am going to do is that I am going to type in npm create what was the comment, sorry. Okay guys, so what are we trying to do over here is I have pasted the command npm create Vite latest and then a dot. So what this dot will be doing, that it will create the template that Vite is giving to us inside this Jarvis folder. It is not going to create any extra folders for us, correct? let me bring it up, and it is asking us for which framework we are trying to do. We will be trying to build it using React, and we will be building it using plain JS only. If you want to go with TypeScript, you can go, no harm in that. npm I will do. Okay, I stands for install. Let it install all the things that I need to get started with. You can see that already all the things are generated. I will say npm run dev, and our dev server is up and running on localhost 5173, correct? So let us go to Chrome browser, right, and let us put localhost 5173, and tada, we have make our React application all set. We have made our React application all set and running. Now let's just go real quick and let me delete all the files and folders that I don't need, right? I don't need a state either. I don't need all of this. I don't need anything else. I don't need app.css. Okay, we will be keeping a single CSS file, which is index.css in your case, and also index.css. I am going to delete every code, and I am just putting a div for the time being so it doesn't throw me any error. I'm going to public, delete this Vite icon, move to trash. Assets also, I have a React icon. Now guys, our VTAF is set. We need to configure Tailwind for it. Okay, now the first step is that create latest with your project name, and we will be using the template React, which we already have done. We are already inside our project, right? We are also already inside Jarvis. Okay, and what we need to do next is we need to do this 2 lines of code. I will be doing one by one. I also recommend you to do one by one, or else you can miss any step. So open a bash, let me expand the window and paste the command. So what is actually is doing, it is actually installing Tailwind CSS as a dependency, and it is also installing post CSS and auto prefixer, correct? These two things are important because Tailwind actually generates CSS, right? It prevents duplication of CSS. So in order to achieve all of these things, we need tools like auto prefixers. We need tools like post CSS and all. Okay, and let me go to the next line, and we will say npx tailwind css init -p. Okay, so it will be initializing Tailwind CSS. Okay, so we have post css.config.js, we have tailwind.config.js. Make sure up to this step you have these two things, right? Next, it is saying that go inside tailwind.config.js, and inside the content array you put all this content, all this configuration. So I will be going to that, and this content is actually what I am going to replace. What is it saying? It is saying that take index.html and go to the source folder and take all these files that ends with js, ts, jsx, tsx, and Tailwind should work in these files only. In my case, I don't have a tsx, I don't have a ts, or like I don't have a js where I intend to use Tailwind, right? That's the reason I am only keeping .jsx files. Okay, this is done. Then it is saying that go to index.css. So we already have this index.css, right? So inside index.css, I am going to paste all this. Guys, I am doing this real quick just because I want to focus more on generative AI part, right? Okay, then I need to do start your build process using npm run dev. So I am going to kill my terminal, and I am going to do npm run dev, and to see if Tailwind is working perfectly fine and not, I am going to say swag coder. I'm not doing a hello world over here because I want to promote my channel, right? Text red 500 say, and it should come in a red text. Let's see if it has come or not. Yeah, perfectly fine, it has came with a red text. We are all set now. Our css is set, our React app is set, and we are all set to dive deep into generative AI. Are you excited? Are you feeling excited? Write me in the comments. Okay, let's go. Let me come over here. Okay, so what I am trying to build is I will be building a simple React application. Let me go to the Excalibur once again. So this is our Jarvis bhaiya. If I this was the high level idea of what we are going to build. If I have to dig into the low level idea, right? So we have an app component, right? We have an app component. I am planning to make a component named as chatbot. You can do the coding in this app component also, but I like to, you know, organize my codes across folders. So I will be making a chatbot component. Okay, the chatbot component will be having say for example 3 things. I'm making 3 arrows for it. So yep, 3 things for chatbot. And what are those 3 things? One will be the input, where we will be inputting, right? Where we will be inputting and we will be giving input to Jarvis. The second thing is the chat area, which will be having 2 parts. We will come to it later on. And the third part will be nothing but what will be the third part? The third part will be the API part, where we will be making call to Jarvis, or like if you are getting confused, Jarvis is actually our OpenAI, right? So we will be making call to OpenAI, and this chat area will further having 2 parts. So the first part will be the user response, okay, the question that we will be asking to Jarvis. And the second part will be nothing but our Jarvis response, or I am saying it as assistant response. So this will be the simple component tree, the component hierarchy, which I am currently thinking about. Okay, so let's get started with the code, and let me go to VS Code again. So let me remove this thing, remove this class name and all. Okay, and we will be making a components folder, where I am planning to keep my components, right? Components is there, and I am trying to make. So what actually we planned for? So we will be having a chatbot input chat area, and chat area will be having user response and assistant response, right? So chat area can be a separate component, chatbot can be a component, our app is a component, right? And input and API we can keep separate, right? So let me come over here and let me do one thing. Inside component, I was there, I am going to make a component called chatbot.jsx. Okay, I am using the shortcut called RAFCE. Okay, I don't need React import because modern React app understands, correct? Next, in the chatbot, so what actually we will be having? We will be having 2 parts in the chatbot. So let me do one thing real quick. So I am building everything upfront. Okay, upfront I am showing you how you can build even if you don't have a clue, right? Even if you don't have a design with you, still you want to use GenAI. I am showing it. The purpose is that I want to show you how easy it is to get started with GenAI, right? Okay, chatbot layout. Okay, what layout should we pick? Should we pick something? Let me go to the images tab once. And where are we? Okay, this actually looks cool. This color and all I actually like. So here in the chatbot component, let me first break it into sections. So there will be 2 sections. One section will be the input section, where we'll be inputting all those characters, right? All those user input that we want to give to our Jarvis, right? So the first thing is Jarvis, or the user input will be a part, right? And Jarvis will be a part. So what I'm trying to do is, let me add a form over here. Okay, I don't need any action. Okay, I need a text area. I will be bringing in a text area. The next thing I am intending to do is I am going to take a input tag of type text. Okay, so the text area or text, let me do one thing. Input type text, I will be bringing in a div, okay, where we will be showing the chat flow, and inside that div we will be having two parts. Inside the div, what I am planning to do is, like, inside the div, this chat area will be there, which will be a separate component, which in terms will be having the user response and the assistant response, correct? So let us bring the input thing first. Let us build this thing, type text. And in order to catch the input, as I am using form tag, I won't be using anything else. Okay, I will be having, let me put this input also inside a div. Okay, this input will be there, and there will be a button as well. Okay, button, say for example send. Okay, send will be there, button send. Input will be of type text. Okay, button will be send, and above that there will be a text, the chat flow, the main area where we will be going to build a chat flow. Let me give it a class name. Let me give it a fixed height to it. Okay, so I'm going to give the height as, say for example 60 view height, and the width will be, say for example 30 view width. Okay, so this is what I am planning to do. And apart from that, I want to make this div to center align, so I will give it a class of margin auto. Okay, let us include this thing, include the chatbot component right inside our app component, and see what our app actually looks like. Let me go over here. Send and input is actually not visible, so let me style our input a bit. So input type text, so I'm going to give it a class name. Say for example it should span across fixed width. Okay, I'm planning to give it a 20 or 25 view width of width, right? And this button of send, I am intending to give it a width of 5 view height, 5 view width actually. Okay, and I also want to give it a border, so border gray 500, why not? Okay, and I will do it rounded and LG rounded corners. I really like rounded corners in my input boxes. You can style it accordingly, whatever you want. Okay, the next thing is that I am going to do is I am going to give this button also a border, and let's not give it a border, let's make it rounded LG, and I am going to change its background to BG sky. Okay, BG sky 600, and text is going to be white for this. Perfect. Let me see how this thing looks. Okay, but our these two things are done, but actually our div is not center aligned, obviously, because it is not actually taking the full available view width, right? So I need to give it a width, right? So I'm going to give it width. I am going to say that you take the entire screen width. Okay, is it taking? It is not taking. Okay, let me come back to it once I have given a border to this also. Border gray, say for example 500, and let's see. Okay, so we have our area where our chat will be happening and our main container. Okay, so this is happening because the width screen actually should not go here itself, because we are saying that you span across entire screen width and you also like center align, right? These two things can't happen at once. Okay guys, let's do one thing. Let me give this class name as flex. I'm just not wasting much time in CSS. Okay, so the outer container I am doing flex, and what I am intending to do is I am going to justify content center. Okay, and it is justified center. I also wanted to have some padding from the top, or some margin around the y-axis. So I will say margin y you take around 10%. Correct. So okay, let's center align. Let's make our input box and send button a little bit more large using padding. So the input box I will get padding as 3. Okay, and I will also give a margin top of 5. Okay, the send button, let me give it a padding as 5. 5 is too much, let me give it padding as 4. Maybe 3 will do. Okay, wrong place, white, and p3, not 32. Okay, margin padding, and also I need to give it a margin start of 2, ms2. Okay, looks cool, looks nice. Let's give a background color to our whole app. Okay, so in the app.js, what I'm going to do simply is I'm going to give it something as purple kind of thing, bg purple, this. Okay, it won't take the whole height, so let me make it to height to screen. Okay, so guys, let us go to here where we actually see. So here it was a green kind of background, right? So in green kind of background, so what I am actually thinking about is let me do one thing. Let me give this background as a grayish kind of background. Okay, bg gray 400. Okay, the 300 maybe, or 200 will do, and it is taking some amount of my, so I will make it py, not my. Okay, and it is there. Also the chat area, I want to give this chat area a little bit of border, or sorry, not border, this chat area I want to give it some rounded corners, so I will do rounded lg. Okay, cool. So these things are done. Now I need to make sure that I make those two components which we actually discussed previously. One will be our user response and the other will be our assistant response. So let's quickly jump into our code and make these two things, this assistant and the user. So we will be having separate bubbles, right? Bubble kind of thing. If I show you the layout of the chatbot, they have separate bubbles, right? So we will have in separate bubbles for the chatbot as well as the user. So I am going to make one. So user bubble dot jsx. Okay, rafce. So, and I don't want React, I will say user bubble and assistant bubble dot jsx, right? rafce again. Yep, it is there. And let's omit the React import. Assistant bubble. Okay, assistant bubble is there, and let's do one thing. Let's go to the chatbot, and in the chat area, what I am planning to do is, like, whatever the response the GENAI is sending me, I will map over it. So what actually map is that when we have an array and we have a lot of elements inside it, if we want to do something for each of the elements inside the array, we actually use something called as map, right? So map actually runs a function or a callback for each and every element of the array. Don't worry, we'll show this in action. Okay, so first of all, let me do one thing. Our user bubble, chat bubble, everything is created. Let me right now create another folder called as API, and inside that I will make something known as API call dot jsx, .js, and here let me first make the API call using OpenAI. And guys, now we will be jumping into the OpenAI dashboard, right? I will be introducing you with the OpenAI platform. So without wasting our time, let's just go into the platform.openai.com and go to the API keys. Okay, it is asking me for logging in. And whenever you come to the platform.openai, you will come to this dashboard, right? So here all the steps are given how you can build an assistant for us, right? There are a lot of APIs that the OpenAI is actually providing us. There is this text generation, there is this prompt engineering, there is this speech to text and whatnot. Okay, so if I take you to the models thing now, so we have different models given by the OpenAI API team. There is GPT-4 and GPT-4 Turbo, which is actually the latest model and the refined version of GPT 3.5 Turbo. So all these things I am going to show you. GPT-4 is there, GPT 3.5 is there. We have DALL-E. DALL-E is a great thing to generate image. We will come to DALL-E in the next video itself, how you can make an image generator app, how you can get started with image generation without literally zero knowledge of image generation, text generation, and zero knowledge of AI, right? So there are a lot of things. We will be right now diving deep into GPT 3.5 Turbo and how to use that, right? So GPT 3.5 Turbo is what we will be using for our app, because we are just building a simple assistant, right? And GPT 3.5 is actually a bit cheaper, right? So I am coming to the cost part now. Cost part is, if you go to the usage, you can see, if you are here for the first time, you might see some amount of credits over here. If you are not seeing any credits over there, you need to actually buy some things over here. So you can just go ahead and buy some credits. Okay, if you are not willing to buy credits, you can go to another platform which is known as Gemini. Okay, so you can go to Gemini. Gemini is actually given by Google, right? And Gemini APIs are actually free, correct? So if we go over here, so Gemini actually provides you free APIs. So if I search over here as Gemini APIs, okay, build with Gemini APIs is the go-to place for you. And what is so you can get the API key in your Google AI Studio, but before that you obviously need to sign in over here. And Gemini APIs are actually free. GenAI APIs, you might not be having credits over there. If you are having credits, well and good, get started with Chat GPT, okay? Or you can straight away come here in Gemini, right? You can get your your API key, create API key and new project. It will generate an API key for you. Okay, you need to copy that thing, that it generate an API key. This is your API key. You can straight away copy it from here and you can use it. And how to get started with the Gemini? Okay, you can straight away come over here, how you can actually use it. Let me come a bit down. You can come to the Node.js section, because we will be using Node.js or simple JavaScript. So you can follow along these all things are there. But today I am going to use this thing called as OpenAI, right? So we will be using GPT 3.5 Turbo, but if you want to get started with free, you can get with Gemini also. Okay, if you want a video on how to use Gemini endpoints, how to integrate this thing, I will make a separate video in the same playlist itself. Don't worry about it. For now, if you have this thing, use it or use so guys, I am over here in my OpenAI dashboard. I am going to create a new secret key and I am going to call it Iron Man. You can call it anything you wish. Create a new secret key and it will create a secret key for you. You need to copy it and make sure you copy it and store it somewhere, because it is going to show you only one time. The next time you are coming and if you are thinking that I am going to copy, then it is not gonna happen, boss, because it is going to show you only once. Okay. So I'm going to copy it, and what I will do, I will make something known as .env. Okay, I am going to .env, and I am going to make a constant call as white environment variable called as white. I am going to call it white OpenAI API key. Okay, and I am simply going to paste it. Cool. We are done, and let me now take you to the API call component, right? So what we are going to do, we are going to make a simple API request, nothing rocket science in there, right? So we are going to make const get GPT response. Let me call my function as this. I am going to use async await over here. If you intend to wish, then catch also, fine to go. Okay, no problem at all. So async function. Okay, I will be getting the input from the user over here, correct, and I will be making API call. Okay, const response to some endpoint, right, and I will await that await await, and I will be using the normal fetch API. I am not using Axios or anything, right? Fetch, and let me make one more environment variable call as, let me call it white OpenAI API endpoint. Okay, and I will go to the OpenAI website again. I have copied my API key, so no problem with it. Let me come to the dashboard again. I am going to do, okay, here you can see different options. I am interested about text generation. I am coming over here, and what are the call over here I need to make? Everything is given over here. If you are intending to use Python, Node.js, curl, you are feel free to use any of the things. Okay, no one is stopping you, because it's at the end of the day just a simple API call that you are making, right, to GENAI or our JARVIS, correct? So it is saying that what we need to do is import OpenAI from OpenAI. So first of all, I guess I need to install it, this OpenAI from, npm. Okay, then we need to actually initialize it using the new keyword, right? We need to create an instance of OpenAI. Then this function will come over here. This is a Node.js code, obviously, so they are assuming that we are doing it from the server, but we are pro people. We will be doing it from the client itself. Okay, so this is it, and let me okay. So it is saying that you need to install something called as OpenAI, correct? So let me go here and let me install this OpenAI. So npm I OpenAI, correct? I am going to install it. Correct. Okay, now we have installed OpenAI. Now these are all the things we need to do. These are the initial imports that we need to do. So now what we need to do, so we have imported OpenAI from OpenAI. We have instantiated it, right? We have created an instance of it. Now what is it saying us to do? It is saying that completion equal to we need to call this function, which will call the API on our behalf. So we need to copy it. Let me copy this whole thing. Okay, and let me go over here. So instead of this, I am going to paste this. So it is saying completion equal to await openai.chat.completions.create. It is creating something. So it is sending this in the request body. What it is sends what it is actually sending in the request body is, it is sending some things called as messages, So inside that we have two things. We have one thing called as role system and role user. So system is actually the prompt we are going to give. So you remember, right, how we used to give Jarvis instructions, right? We talked about it, right? We need to give Jarvis some hint about what we are trying to do. So here we are saying that you are an helpful assistant. Let me name it as Jarvis. So named Jarvis, design to output JSON, and I am say result user and content is who won the World Series in 2020. So instead of that, what I am going to do, I am going to directly paste the user input that we will be getting from our input box. Simple. Okay. And we are using GPT 3.5 and response format should be this, and this console log is actually what we are interested in. It will give us an object, JSON object, right, which will be a nested kind of object, correct? It will be giving us something called as choices. It will be an array. Inside that we will be having something called as message and something called as content. We will see all those things in action. Let me do one more thing. Let me add something called as const data, and data will, I will store this thing which this OpenAI API is returning to us, right? And I will simply return this data. Okay, cool. This is done. Completion await OpenAI, and let me do perform one more step before we do it. We will be doing response. So just to like, so what I am intending to do here is like we will be getting a serialized output, right, from this completions API. So what I am trying to do is I am just wanting to deserialize it using the JSON function. So I will do await, I will do completion dot JSON, correct, and it will just convert this response in a deserialized format. Okay, and it will return us a promise. That's why I have used await over here. Okay, console.log data and all. Okay, and let me do one thing. I also need to export it, right? So let me do export default GPT response. Okay, so I have made a simple function which is going to call the OpenAI on based on the input we are trying to give. We are setting some prompt, right, and based on that prompt it will process things for us and return us the final extracted response. Okay, so this GPT response is there. Let me go real quick into our chatbot component, and here actually what I am planning to do is like this form, right, it will give us a on submit event, and let me type test. We have given this to input. Let me give it a name. I am give it a name as our input or the user input, anything you wish. On submit I am planning to call a function call handle submit. I will pass the reference over there, and const handle submit will be again an arrow function where we will be giving, first of all, we will be getting the event object, and the first thing we need to do is obviously prevent the default, prevent default. So what this does is that it actually stops the page from refreshing whenever we submit the form, right, because that is the default behavior of the form, right. So now what we are trying to do is, let me do a console.log what we are getting over here. So I'm going to give e.target. Okay, and let us see user input. Let us see. So now coming to my front end, where it is. Oh my god, I have a lot of tabs open. Let me close those tabs which we don't need. Okay, we come over here. Let me inspect this web page. Then let me go to the console and let me type in something. Say for example, hi. We got a form, right? saying user input. Okay, it actually gave us the form element over here. So we actually got the form element inside our console. So what we need to do is, we actually need to do, we have given this input a name, right? So this e dot target is, can I use this name over here? Can I use user input, user input over here? Let me see. If I send hi again, it gives me actually the input box that I am looking for. Cool. I have not used refs, I have not used any kind of state variables over here, right? Because the browser itself is giving us this thing. Why do we need to do extra? Why do we need to re-render our component? Even if we don't re-render our component, why do we need to use hooks? Because browser, or like whenever we are submitting a form, we by default get something called as this on submit, which gives us everything we want. So like there is no point of using extra things. So that's why user input I have taken, and I will take as value. Okay, let's send hi, and hi is coming as user input. Very good. Well and good. Now let me make this API call finally over here. This is an async call, but it is giving us responses. We will call it as it is, get API responses, and let me extract this thing first. So const user input, let me hold this value over here. We could have sent this directly also. I'm just using another variable, no harm in doing that, right? GPT response, and finally see, so we will be getting this thing, right? So const response equal to GPT response. Now this GPT response is actually a async function, right? So we need to await this thing, and obviously in order to await, we need to make our handle submit also and async function. Okay, and let me try to log it response, and let's see if we are getting any errors till now. Okay, let me refresh the page and say hi, how are you? Let me send it. It is saying that GPT response is actually not defined, uncaught in promise, and you might already be knowing why this happens, because we have not imported it. Cool. Let's see. Hi, how are you? Uncaught promise. The OpenAI API key environment is missing or empty. Obviously, because actually we have not given our OpenAI API key to this function, right? So client with an API key option, like new API key. So it is saying that instantiate the OpenAI client with an API key option, like new OpenAI. Whenever we are doing, we need to pass this API key parameter into its body itself. Correct. So let us do the same thing. It is asking us to do API key, my API key. Now I will pull it from the environment variable. Guys, be real cautious while using it, because if OpenAI APIs are costly, right? If someone gets your API key, okay, when your bundling is happening, right? When your JavaScript bundle is happening, it is tending to expose all this API key and credentials to the browser. That's why the most safest practice is that you keep all your credential, your OpenAI key and all stuffs in a server. If in case you are using it for a client, at least use a .env file, okay, so that you can pull it from here. So using white, how I can use it is by using import meta.env dot import meta.env dot OpenAI API key, right? So this endpoint is actually of no use to me right now, because I am using the OpenAI package in my UI. So byte OpenAI API key. Okay, let's see now if we get any kind of error. And I am actually showing you all this because you will also be getting same kind of things while you will be developing those things, right? So I am also showing you how to fix if something went wrong. Okay, So okay, it looks like you are running. Okay, so what is happening right now? Everything is happening fine, but what is happening right now is OpenAI is saying that it looks like that you are running a browser-like environment. So OpenAI itself suggests us that you should do OpenAI calls only from a server. In case you are doing it from the browser, right? This is actually not something that OpenAI recommends you, but still you can do it. So what you can do it is that you can pass this extra parameter called dangerously allowed browser, and you can set it to true. So what like it meant by is like if you use this thing called dangerously allow browser to true, it won't give you this kind of warnings, or it won't stop you to make an API call. Okay, but it is actually recommended, I am repeating once again, that you keep all your code related to OpenAI, your credentials and everything in your server. If you are doing it from the client like we are doing, I am keeping it in an environment file, and from here I am importing that thing. Got it? Okay, so good. Okay, so right now everything we have in place. Let's see if it is showing us the response or not. Okay, let me click on send. Okay, looks like the network call has happened successfully, right? The network call is happening successfully. You can see that completion API endpoint was hit, and we actually we actually get something like this. This object is what we get, and see what we are sending in the payload is all those things. So what we are sending in the payload is all those things, and what we are getting in the response is all these things. And you can see that it is an object. We have a key called choices, which is an array, right? So if I take you to the code, what the OpenAI told us is, you go to response, then choices of 0. So choices, as you can see, is an array containing two objects. We are doing choices of we are doing choices of 0, right? So we are getting this object, and inside that we have something called as message, and then something called as content. So let us see. Message we have, content we have. Content is a response in a JSON format. So it is giving us a response in a JSON format. For simplicity purpose, let's do one thing. Let me prompt it. You are a helpful assistant named Jarvis, designed to output text response. Okay, and we got something uncaught type error completion. JSON is not a function. Okay, so it is saying that JSON is not a function. Let me remove this line, right? Let me remove this line. Console.log completion. Let me use this completion itself. Completion itself. It will now give us a textual response, and it should log into the console. Let me clear the console, or let me refresh the browser in general, bring it down. Hi, or let me ask it something meaningful. So I am asking, what is the capital of say England? Let me see if it gets something. It says 400 bad request, and it says network call actually failed. Why? It is saying that messages must contain the word JSON in some form to use response JSON of type response object. Okay, so let me do one thing. Let me revert this back. What I can do is, I can do one thing, which is this completion that I am getting, I can say JSON.parse. I can simply parse this. Okay, JSON.parse. Okay, this completion, so that it parses it as a JSON completion. So this completion, I am parsing it as a JSON. Now let's see what is happening. Let me clear the console and send it once again. Uncaught syntax error. Object is not a valid JSON, because what actually it gave us this time is something which is this. Okay, so see, this is actually not a proper JSON format, right? This is actually not a proper JSON format. We need to convert it to JSON. So what can we do something so that we can convert it to JSON, right? So what we can do is it is giving /ns, which is of no use to us. Second thing is it is giving us something called as slash and this thing. So in place of that, what I can say is na ki I will do something like, before parsing this completion, I can say const refined response is equal to nothing but our completion, and I will replace right, I will replace /n. We have /n's, right? What else we have? We have /n's and slash double quote. So we gonna replace /n's with empty string, right? And we gonna replace our double quote we need to append here, right? So let me use it single quote, this double quote with our normal double quotes. Okay, so these two replacements I have done. Now let's see. So what I have done is, like inside that JSON that we were getting, right, I am replacing all the /ns and all the backslashes, right, like this. So let me parse this refined response and let's see what the destiny has for us. Okay, let's send. Uncaught promise again, completion dot replace it not a function. Completion dot replace is not a function because actually we need to run it on this thing, right? This dot content we need to run that on. So just 1 second, I will run it on the data, because actually we're concerned about whatever is coming on the content, right? Not the whole JSON structure that it is sending to us. So I am doing data.replace. Okay, now let's ask the question. Let me bring it a bit down. And what is the capital of England? Let me send. Let's see. Perfect. We have got the response in something called as answer, right? So actually this API call is, if you check correctly, it is giving us something called as question and something called as answer, correct? So we are getting two things over here, question and answer. Now we need to display it on the UI. Our API integration is complete and done, and trust me, this was only the part where you need to integrate GenAI. Everything else is how you do things in your actual application, in like be it React, be it your Angular, be it your Flutter or anything. Okay, it is just the API integration that you need to care about. That's it. Okay, now I am getting this thing. Let me do one thing. Let me copy it once. Let me copy this thing once. I don't want to make request every now and then. So because it actually increases costs. So what I am going to do is, I'm like just commenting out. I am just blocking this API call. So I will say const response. Response is nothing but something that we are getting as an option. Now guys, what I am planning to do is, like every time we make an API call, right? So every time we get something like question and something like answer, correct? So what I want to do, in order to show the whole conversation in the chat flow, actually what I am thinking is that I will put everything, the object that we are getting, right, I am planning to put everything inside an array, and at the end of the day I will be mapping it through an array only, so that we get to see all the responses that we are getting from GenAI. Okay, so let's quickly do those things. What I am planning to do is, okay, let me have one thing called a state. So const we give it a space, const I will say GPT response and set GPT response, and we will say use state use state from React. We are going to import that and we are going to make this initially as null. Okay, and whenever we are getting our response from GenAI, what I am planning to do is I'm just going to set GPT response. I'm going to take the all the old inputs that I had. I am going to spread them. Okay, and I am going to append the response also over here. So here I am actually using the functional form of use effect, right? It actually ensures that while React is scheduling those state updates for us, it actually scheduled it correctly. So we are passing React a callback so that React can schedule that state updates correctly, and it guarantees that there will not be any stale state update or any backdated state update or any inconsistent state updates. Okay, and I am using state variable obviously because I want to re-render my UI. Every time a new response comes from the GenAI, I want my UI to re-render and show the newer responses along with the older ones. Okay, now what I am planning to do is all this GPT res I have, I will open curly braces to put dynamic content using JavaScript. So I will say GPT response. If you have GPT response, I am adding a conditional over here, right? I am gonna map over each response. Okay, and what I am going to do now is that every response will be having two things. Let me make it a div. Okay, let me make a div. Okay, and inside this div is what I am trying to do is like if I bring you again to the table that we do is like our input is done, our API is done. Okay, our chat area layout is done. We will be working on these two things, user response and assistant response, correct? So they will be having their separate chat bubbles, right? So I have already made those components. So what I am going to do is like I am going to import those things. So I am going to say first of all I need to show the user input, right? So I am going to import the user bubble over here first. Okay, and just after that I am going to import the assistant bubble after that. Okay, and let me do one thing. After that we have done this. So what we are getting in each responses, so we are actually getting this thing, right? We have getting a key called question and a key called answer. So our user bubble will be having something called as question, right, which is nothing but response dot question, or what we can do, we can destructure it, right? We can use the ES6 destructuring and we can actually get the question and answer, the keys, in a destructured manner. Okay, this is a JS specific thing. Don't worry if you are not getting it, because this is very JS specific thing. Okay, just if I have to explain this to you, what I am doing is I am just extracting those keys from that object and putting it as a prop, or as a prop thing. So props are actually what we actually pass to functions. So you can actually consider props as the parameters or the arguments that are being passed to a function. Okay, it's similar to that. Okay, so I am going to put on question as question and answer as answer. So answer will be answer. Okay, so the user bubble is done, chat bubble is done. So let me go to here and I am destructuring those things again from the props. So I am just whatever I have passed as the function parameter, I am just getting it over here, correct? So assistant is not actually having question, right? User bubble is having question and assistant is having answer. So let me destructure the answer property over here, and I'm just going to display the answer over here. Okay, and in the user bubble, similarly, what I am intending to do is I am just doing a question over here. I am destructuring this, and Okay, so question also I have done it over here. So now let me go over my app and let me put something dummy. So if you remember, right, we have actually blocked the OpenAI API call, we have commented it out, and we have just put in a dummy response over here. So it doesn't matter whatever I type, this should show up in the screen. So if I say hide, what actually happened, let me see real quick. Console, what is it saying? So it is saying that old is not iterable. It is doing that because I have given it as a null, correct? So whenever it is saying that boss, you are trying to iterate something over null, so that's something obviously not doable. So let me make it as an empty array. Now this should go up, and let me put it high again. So our text is actually shown, but it is saying that every child should have an unique key prop, the typical React thing, the typical React warning that we get. So let me do one thing. So I am saying key. For now, I am actually using this answer as key. Okay, but ideally you should get something called as id. Okay, and you should actually use that, which is guaranteed to be unique, correct? So let's send it over again, and it is saying that encountered two children of the same key. Okay, because obviously we are pushing the same thing again and again, right? So it is saying that we are getting the same keys, but just ignore this thing for now. Okay, and let us do one thing. Let me just style these two things a bit, right? So that it actually looks like something like a chatbot. So what I am going to do is, for this answer actually, so first of all let me do it for the question, then we will do it for the answer. So let me do a class name. I am doing it as bg. Let me add green color, bg green, 200 will do, right? Let me give it some padding 5 from all direction. Let me give it something rounded lg. Okay, and let's see how it looks. It looks good, but I think we should also give it a border, right? Border gray of, say for example, 400. Okay, and one thing we should do is that we should decrease its width. Okay, so or we can do is we can give it some margin from left. So I'm going to give it ml5. Okay, and I should also give the whole container, right, some padding. So I'm going to give the whole container a padding of 2. Okay, and one more thing, margin looks a bit clumsy, so let's give it ml10, 10 from this side. And also one more thing is that it should take up some margin in the y-axis also, ml3 for example. Okay, ml3 is there, looks kind of good, right? Okay, and let me copy this whole class name thing. Let me copy this thing over here. Let me cut it and let me put it inside assistant also. We will be doing some separate style for assistant. So let me make it pink, bg pink, right? And border and all I am fine with, rounded lg and all, but instead of ml I want the margin from the right side. Cool. So this is what our GenAI is giving to us, and this is what we will be typing, correct? Should we style it a bit more? Okay, so in order to style it a bit more, okay, this thing is obviously something optional. I am just doing it to enhance the look and feel. So I will be going to a website called React Lucid. So actually what React Lucid offers us is that it gives us a lot of icons, okay, so which we can straight away use. Okay, So what I am going to do is, let me go to the guide, and how can I use it is simply by, let me, it has become very messy. So in PMI install Lucid React is so Lucid React we have installed over here, correct? Now what I am willing to do is I will be going to the Lucid React and going to the icons, and I will be searching for user. Okay, so this one looks fine, this one looks fine, this one looks fine. Copy the JSX code. You can straight away come, and before our answer is there, I just want to put this circle round, and it is that easy actually to get icons from Lucid React. Let me see how it looks. Let me put a high again. Okay, it has come here, over here. I don't want it to come over here, so what I am going to do is I'm going to wrap this to over a fragment, right? And let's see now. Okay, they are not coming into a same line, so let us do one thing. Circle round is, anyway we will be using this for the user, so let me come to the user bubble, and let me create a div with flex, right? And let me add the icon over here. Let me add the icon over here. We have imported it, and let me do it like this. Circle round, right? Circle round is there, and let us see. Let me again send a hi, and see, it is there, but I two things is there which I actually need to do. First thing is that this ML10 and this thing my10 should be applied to the whole container, not only to the response box. So I am going to put it over here, right? And P5 is actually what is specific to this bubble itself, so I am not taking it out. Let's see. Okay, not bad. I am giving it a padding end of, say for example, 6. So I am giving it a padding end of 6. Okay guys, so I am giving it a padding end of 6, so that, or let me see ME6. Okay, okay, so guys, so now what we are going to do is I am going to give it a this thing. I am going to give it a margin start of 2. It will give something, and what is the next thing I am going to do is I am going to increase the width. So I am going to do width 20. Width 20 is actually not, so there is a property called scale, I believe. So if I go to Lucid React, I am going to get this size, and if I copy the SVG, so you can see the size is also a property that we can give. Okay, so size, let me give it 30, and let's see what we have gone. Okay, not bad, but let me give it 40. Okay, size 40, and let me bring it a bit down. Okay, and margin start is actually I need to reduce it, or okay, looks good. With 20 is what I have given it, given to it. Let me give it something in the y-axis. Let me give it some margin, my2. Okay, so it has come over here. Cool, right? So our user is actually inputting some things, and let me do one thing. This my1, actually let me give it my1, and the same kind of thing I will be doing for the assistant also. So in the assistant, let me copy this code, or at least this much code. Let me come to the assistant, so let me come to this assistant. So guys, we have taken this thing from the user bubble to the assistant, and let me now save everything. And for assistant, actually we actually need something which looks like a bot. Okay, so let me again go to the Lucid React and search for bot. So okay, this looks cool to me, this looks cool to me. Let's copy the JSX, paste it over here. Okay, and don't forget to import the bot. Okay, so the bot is imported. Let's see, let me send a hi. So a bot, so the bot actually comes this side. We actually need to need the bot to come the other side, correct? So what I will do is I will just keep the bot over here. It is taking a lot of space over here. My, so instead of my I am going to say ms3. You take from start, right? And is the bot okay? In place of width 20, I'm just removing this width 20 for now. Okay, and my, let's give it 2, and user bubble also let's give my as 2. Okay, so we actually have developed this application till this point where the user can chat in something, and the chatbot actually responses. So guys, enough of styling. Now let's just comment out the part which we actually commented that time, so that we can see real-time responses from GenAI. And obviously we need to then remove this thing. This is of no use to us, right? And now let's see, fingers crossed, let's see if our chatbot is up and working or not. Let me now ping in something to the chatbot, right? So let me what should I ask this chatbot, what should I ask this chatbot to do? So now our Jarvis is actually completed, right? So whatever we ask Jarvis, Jarvis is going to answer us, right? So guys, let's do this thing, let's ask it something. So let's ask this something meaningful. Okay, so let me ask it what is React.js, and let's see what it responds to us. Let me send it. I have hit on send. Okay, it doesn't give me anything. Let me see what is the problem. Okay, see guys, it has changed its key names. It has changed its key names to description. So this is the caution you need to have while working with GenAI apps, because if you don't prompt it properly, if you don't say it properly what it needs to do, it is going to give random things. Okay, right now it has changed the key names. Okay, so what we can do to fix that is we can prompt us. We can change our prompt a bit. We can change that you are a helpful assistant named Jarvis designed to output JSON with two keys, and we will say two keys answer. So we have two keys like question, which will be question asked by the user, and we will be also having something known as two keys with two keys. Say for example question and answer in the following JSON format. Okay, and what is our JSON format? Actually this is our JSON format, right? So question asked by the user, and the second thing will be our answer. This will be the name of the key, and this will be actually the response from OpenAI. Okay, so we have actually now prompted it properly. We have said that boss, you don't need to change the key names, right? You have to keep the key names consistent. So let's see now what happens. So now if I go ahead and I ask it actually what is React.js, let's see what actually happens. All right, guys. So we have got our response, right? It is saying that React is a JavaScript library for building user interfaces developed by Facebook. It allows developer and blah blah blah, whatnot. So actually, guys, we have made our very own smart chatbot up to this point. I know this icon is something that is actually breaking right now, but what I can do to fix it is actually bring in the width factor again with 20, correct. Or I can do is just I can go to the okay w20 my2, okay, and what we can do is assistant verbal my2 size is 40. Let me see, let me inspect it and see if we can, why it is happening. So let me give it a min width, okay, let me give it a min width. So it has to, yeah, now it is fixed. So it has to maintain a minimum width, okay. Now ms3 mr10, okay, mr10, let me do it as mr4, okay, or maybe mr2, okay. So yep, so it fixes everything. Let me do one thing. Let me ask it another question. What is AngularJS, for example, and let's see what it responses back to us. Okay, it has responded back to us, but now we also need to add a scroll bar to it, correct. So I will go over here, and I will say overflow auto, and let's see. Okay, the scroll bar is added, and you can see that our chat flow is done. Whatever we are asking, it is giving us in response. So guys, I have not focused much on styling and css kind of stuff. You can customize it as per your needs, but this is what the main funda behind all the GenAI applications actually is like. You just need to understand how the integration works, right? This is the only thing you need to know, how the integration works, how to use GenAI, use it as a tool. You don't need to know how GenAI is generating content for you. All you need to know is how to use it, and you can make awesome application. We are going to make awesome application in the coming future, okay. So right now all those things I will push to my GitHub, okay. You can just check my GitHub code. I will add a link in the description. You can just download the code and you can customize this whole application as per. Okay, and we are here done with this application. We have built everything. I hope I was able to give you some insight. I have given you some proper clarification about how you can use GenAIs in your applications. So we will be exploring other GenAI models also in the coming videos, right? We will be doing crazy stuff. We will be doing image generation and all and what not. I have a lot of plans for you. Apart from AI, I have also planned a whole series of system design for you, right? A whole series of React for you. Just let me know in the comments how you like this video, what else can be improved, what else you would like to see, and we will be continuing our playlist. But before ending this video, please do share it into your social media platforms wherever you are, so that actually our channel actually grows, right? So that we can reach to more and more people, and I can get the motivation to bring such content to you. With that, signing off.